Welcome to the 24K Life podcast. I am your host, Derick Gant. We are here to make your life better. Simply put, I wish I could make it more complicated, but simply put, the 24K Life is about helping you to identify the things that are holding you back. You know, things that are holding you back because of yourself and the things that you can fix yourself, but also to deliver to you amazingly incredible people doing amazingly incredible things that we never knew about. And I say we, I'm including myself in this conversation because today we have Darlene Greene, and she is a health specialist. She is looking to help us be more healthy. Now, if you know anything, I consistently talk about health and wealth, but I talk about that wealth more than I do that health. But we all know if you do not have health, you have nothing, including wealth. You know, so many people would sacrifice their wealth if somebody could help them with their health. And with that, I want to introduce Darlene. She's got an amazing background, and she has some words inside of her bio I can't even pronounce. So we're going to let her help us with the pronunciation of some of these things. And more importantly, forget the pronunciation. We're going to have her help us understand what it really means. Darlene, welcome.
Good morning, Derick. Good morning. How are you?
I am, as you can tell, on fire and amazing. I am always ready to go. Been up since 4:44. I'm an early riser. And if you were to ask me anything important, it should probably be before 6 p.m. because I'm toast after that. So I'm a morning person, not a night person. How are you? And how do you describe photobiomodulation?
Yeah, great question. I'm great, getting better and younger every day, actually, with reverse aging. Photobiomodulation is actually something that most people are more aware of than they would think. When you go outside and you have the sun on your skin, it sends a signal in your body to make vitamin D. Most people know that. Most people know that it also makes melanin, so you get a suntan. Mm-hmm. So photobiomodulation is literally just the entering of light to your body causing a chemical reaction.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Now I can introduce you or have you introduce yourself. So are we allowed to call you Commander? I mean, I just want to know.
I'm a retired Navy commander, but you don't have to call me that. Darlene is fine.
I know we don't have to, but I kind of want to. I mean, you got to be the most beautiful commander I've ever seen. You know, in any event, Darlene is a stem cell activation technology consultant. As you just heard, she is a retired U.S. Navy commander. She looks for those of you that are just listening, you've got to go to the YouTube channel because she looks like this supermodel mom chick that would never be given orders, but I would hate to get on her wrong side of not delivering the right commands because the commander is in the house. Welcome, Commander. We're excited to have you. Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Well, thank you. Well, so it was really fascinating. I did 20 years in the Navy. I came right into the Navy right out of the University of Virginia. And through the course of my 20 years, I had 3 commanding officer tours, including like a base commander. And my final commanding officer tour, I was over 1,200 people. The thing I'm most proud of in all of my life, actually, is that in that last tour, one of the things I noticed was that my reservists were being deployed to Afghanistan and coming back traumatized and not doing very well. And neither were their spouses. So they weren't reintegrating very well. So I created a program with a team that was called the Returning Warrior Weekend Workshop. And that helped them reintegrate successfully with the support that they needed, understand that they weren't alone, and talk through some of the issues for the first time ever. And that workshop is still in existence today. Wow. After I took it and I started it, and then I spread it through part of the country, they asked me to come back and spread it to other services and work with the Secretary of the Navy. So it was really exciting, and it's now a protected yellow ribbon panel funded workshop that's helping reservists and active duty across the country. So really proud of that. I will say, moving from that, I remember going into the office of, okay, help me with my resume. I've never done a resume. What and they would say, well, what industry do you want to be in? And I would say, well, I can be in any industry. I've had a little of this, a little of that. In the military, you covered it all.
Right.
I'd say, no, you have to pick. And I'd say, why? Well, so you'll see in my background, I never really did pick. I mean, I've kind of landed in technology. It started with network and security technology. And I was over engineers and architects that were putting in data security and networks. And then I went into the software. I was a vice president for McAfee, made very famous by John McAfee, who was not there when I was there.
Okay.
And from there, I actually launched into something entirely different, just because, even though, and this was the first time, always my family had followed my career. And this was the first time that my whole family wanted to be in Indiana, very close to you, and Culver, Indiana, and they wanted to go to the Culver Girls Academy. My husband wanted to work at the Culver Academy. And so we moved to Culver, Indiana, and I was there, and I became the dean of the Culver Girls Academy. They didn't like that.
Really?
My kids didn't like that so much. They were like, no, you don't get this.
All those girls called you the commander. If you didn't know it, if you didn't hear it, they all did it.
Dean Greene is what they called me. It was really
Dean
fun.
Greene.
Dean Greene. And then they graduated. I came back to Arizona and began working again as a director of client services for high tech networks and security. I still have that job.
Mm-hmm.
I love that job. But it was really 4 years ago when my husband he was diagnosed with a neurological decline, something that most people recognize. You lose your memory, you lose the ability to do tasks, people don't recognize each other. It's and when it's early, it's more aggressive. And
Okay.
so we launched this, I launched, not him, actually, I did. I dove deep into trying to figure out what could I do. And I will tell you, there's just not a lot out there. Even the most latest and greatest breaking therapies cause brain bleeds in 50% of the people that have APOE4/4, like my husband. So we went out.
You got to stop there.
Let me stop.
People that have what?
Neurological decline.
No, you called it something else. AP4P.
APOE4/4. That's a gene type. You can actually tell whether you have a very high likelihood of getting the neurological declining disease.
Mm-hmm. Is there a test for that? Since you say you can tell, you get some sort of DNA test?
Doctor to test you. And when you have, what APOE4/4 means is that my husband received from both parents the highest likelihood of getting that neurological disease.
Okay. Wow. So how long ago did this take place that you started to do some homework and really dive in to help your husband?
So 4 years ago, right away. And we did a lot of things that most people, I think, would do. Maybe not initially. We cut out alcohol, we cut out sugar, we cut out white flour, we cut out genetically modified foods. We began exercising much, much more consistently and with a very specific intent. Like for him, there needed to be a lot of strength training in the lower legs. That's actually related to getting good blood flow to the brain. Right. We also did high intensity training. So we did a lot of those things, but they didn't, he lost a lot of weight, but they weren't stopping the decline. We then went to Mexico to get IV stem cell therapy. Okay. And that was very expensive. We're talking $10,000 a pop.
Okay.
4 times in a year we did that because it needed to be done quarterly to see, and just didn't see any results from that.
Really?
We did hyperbaric chamber, which is also very expensive. And people say is really, really good for the brain. I actually think he got a little bit worse from the hyperbaric chamber.
Really?
It's very interesting, and I can't explain that, but one of the doctors that I work with said that has happened. She's seen that before. We've done ozone therapy. We've done blood spinning ozone therapy. We've done infrared sauna. We've done hydrogen water, you know, you name it. So it wasn't, however, and nothing. I mean, just nothing. The decline continued. It was pretty severe. He was at the point where he was really withdrawing into himself. He was napping 3.5 hours a day, falling asleep at 7 o'clock at night. And we were going to bed at 8:30. So it wasn't like we were staying up. He was disengaged from conversation, I think because it was just so taxing. He couldn't find the words. If he did, they didn't quite come out right. So if he did engage, he was sometimes 3 conversations behind because it just took him that long. He would ask me the same question 7 times in 3 minutes, which as a care provider is hard. You know, you can love someone to death, but that just gets really frustrating. Mm-hmm. And I guess probably the saddest thing was he was no longer trying to be funny. So the core of my husband's personality is to be funny. That's everything. He just loves landing funny jokes. He was no longer able to do some basic things, whistle, drum to the beat. And when he tried, it was pretty ugly. We had been working on his deep sleep because, as you know, deep sleep is so critical for the brain. That's when the brain and gets the toxins out and they go the opposite direction. It's kind of like the cleansing process. Well, we tried everything from red lights in the bathroom where we only turn on red lights at night, not eating 3 hours before bed, just a ton of stuff. And nothing, I mean, he was still getting only 15 minutes of deep sleep. I was just like pulling my hair out. We had the red light glasses. We were getting the sun in the eyes in the morning. I literally took a class on how to improve deep sleep. Still 15 minutes. So that wasn't really improving. I would say it wasn't until this friend of mine introduced me to LifeWave, which has a history of research in stem cells. And I'm going to talk through the history of stem cells. And then I'm going to tell you, so in 2008, this company that's been around for quite some time, and we'll talk about them a little bit, they had spent over $4 million doing stem cell research. And they proved actually that using a pulsed electromagnetic field, they could improve stem cell function. They did not only, and then they did more research at the National University of Ireland that demonstrated that the application of an external low frequency magnetic field could enhance stem cell functions, not just in animals, but also in human beings. Mm-hmm. So this company that has this amazing research in stem cells then switches to figure out, like, how do I do that? How do I increase a specific peptide called GHK-Cu? And we'll talk about that because GHK-Cu is probably the most important peptide in your body that no one has ever heard of.
What does it do?
Insulin, you've heard of. Well, it is the thing. GHK-Cu is the thing that increases your stem cells. It activates your stem cells. It produces growth factors. It restores healthy function of lung cells. It improves respiration to the cells. It's an antioxidant, an anti-inflammatory, so it reduces inflammation. It suppresses NF-κB, which is a primary cause of disease. Mm-hmm. It has a huge effect from my perspective, not from my perspective, from the science and the studies, but in relating to what I was really interested in was the brain and nerve. So it alters the expression of human genes. So has a strong anti-anxiety, anti-aggression, anti-pain. It helps with cognitive function, memory, clarity, concentration, focus, energy, sleep. And it actually does something that I think you're going to be very interested in is angiogenesis, which is the growth of new blood vessels. We're going to talk next about one of the things. I've been listening to your podcast, and I know you've had blood clots.
Yeah, so you have been listening. I'm like, how is she going to me?
I know you have So one of the things GHKCU does is it reduces fibrinogen synthesis, which is the top predictor of cardiovascular heart disease. And it increases myostatin, which inhibits heart failure. One of the other things, and this is all, so GHK has been studied for 50 years specifically by a Dr. Lauren Picard, and people can go find more out about this. They can Google PubMed, but it also has a huge anti-cancer effect. So things like it topped over 1,000 bioactive compounds that are recommended for treatment for colon cancer. It reset the programmed cell death of human cancer cells. One of the problems is that they just kind of keep going and going. This reset them and made them die. And that included human neuroblastoma, leukemia, breast cancer cells, but it did not affect the healthy cells. It inhibits the thing that's believed to promote cancer, which is called NF-κB-P65.
Okay.
And it repaired damaged DNA.
Really?
It reset 84 genes to either that cancer inhibition or to the growth inhibition. It does amazing things for the skin and hair. I'm here to tell you, do you see all these little sprouts? I'm like got the broccoli forest on the top of my head because this is just creating so much hair growth. And in fact, I'll tell you that my husband had a very large, we haven't even gotten to like how he is on the patches, but he had a very large bald spot, and it's growing in and it's coming in.
No way.
Not brown. He's always had gray hair.
So you got to take a breath. You got to take a breath.
Two more things, then you can ask me anything. Because the other things that GHKCU does is it accelerates wound healing. So that skin and hair I was talking about, it increases collagen synthesis and repairs fine lines and smooths photo damage and increased hair growth. But it also increases healing in tissue, skin, stomach, intestine, bone. So, okay, ask away.
Well, you're going to make me ask you a question about GHKCU again, but because I was going a different way, but I'll still get there. But tell me about the magnetic vibration. How was that administered?
That was actually a very large piece of equipment. I can't even describe it. It was
a large piece of equipment.
Yeah. So that was, that my point in sharing that is that stem cell research has been a part of the core of this company for a long time.
Right.
What happened this past week is that we were told that the FDA has decided that stem cells, even your own, are considered a drug.
What?
Yes. So I can't say that this stem cell activation patch, a month ago, I would have called it a stem cell activation patch. Now I can't. Right. Now I can call it a patch that activates GHKCU. And GHKCU activates stem cells, but I can't call myself a stem cell activation technologist anymore. I'm a GHKCU activation technologist. I can talk about the fact that this company has a lot of research in stem cells and that we've spent a lot of money on investigating it. And that's the core of a lot of what we do. But I can no longer make that claim without getting in trouble with the FDA. I mean, they just want to own the words.
Yeah,
so any health company that has improvement and shown demonstrative effects of stem cells can no longer claim and use the word stem cells. So you'll see.
How do they declare your own stem cells a drug? Okay, never mind. I can see that gets to you. So let me ask you this.
Hurts my heart because they just are like it's a gag order. It's a gag order.
It is a gag order because nobody's going to take a time out. When I say nobody, very few people, unless they're in a situation like you and your husband, are going to take a time out and go, oh, let me go look up GHKCU and see what that really means.
Yes.
And so it's a huge roadblock.
They want to own it all, right? If this isn't a pharmaceutical drug, which it isn't, there's nothing that's a drug in what I'm talking about. It's just light therapy. That is, this patch doesn't have anything that goes in your skin. There's nothing that goes in your skin. It just reflects your light. Like I talked about going outside and standing in the sun and the vitamin D. This is basically, you have light in you. If I were to look at you with night vision goggles, I would see light inside of you. And it's very God.
You would probably have to put sunglasses on if you put that on me.
It'd be so bright. It'd be 24 karat bright, right?
That's right.
What this does is you can put it on the outside of your clothing. You can put it on your skin. And it reflects that light back to you at a very specific wavelength that causes the elevation of that copper peptide, which I can talk about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. So let's go back to the basics. Okay. I want to go way back to basics. Now, where are your daughters? Are they graduated from college at the time that your husband starts having these issues? Were they still in school? Where were they in this circle of the family unit?
Thank you. One had graduated from the Naval Academy a few years before and was serving in the Navy on a cruiser. The other had graduated from the Air Force Academy and was going through flight school, was just beginning flight school. And, so they were older, they were out of the house, but they have certainly been impacted. We also have two sons. One is going through Navy flight school, and the other was a Marine who's been retired and is got a family. I've got a couple grandkids. So
you do not. Here, let me put this up and let me read it for our listeners that aren't watching on YouTube. Now, I already told you while they're listening, you have to go check out the YouTube so you can see. Now you're really got to go see because she's claiming to be a grandma. But anyway, you can go to IamReverseAging.com. And you can start to study and learn about this. Unfortunately, I'm sure you're going to have to change some of the content on the website and update that. Yeah. And so go check it out. Go check it out while it's still easy reading. Go check it out fast.
Well, you don't have to do the crosswalk, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you, now, you mentioned, and maybe I didn't hear you clearly, and that's why I'm asking again, just in case listeners didn't hear you clearly. You mentioned that you went to Mexico and you went there for stem cell injections or something, and you did it quarterly, $10,000 a quarter, and you're saying it didn't work, but now you're saying that the GHKCU stem cell treatment with the light patch is working. What's the difference between those two? And do these patches cost $10,000 a quarter?
That's such a great question. There are a couple differences from my perspective. One is those were somebody else's stem cells and they were getting injected, and you don't know how live they were. You don't know how long. I mean, you hope that they were alive. They were certainly kept cold. They were promised to be alive, but it's all a big mystery, right? That's not typically very well regulated. And inflammation eats stem cells. So when we were getting those, we could have been just so filled with inflammation that they got eaten up, and maybe they did something, but it wasn't enough. So what's different about the patches is you have in your body a ton of stem cells, right? But when you're 30, half of them are dormant. And when you're 60, almost all of them are dormant. So what happens is by activating your GHKCU, it wakes them up and says, go to work. But what we also did was we reduced the inflammation in the body. So while they're getting activated and we're reducing inflammation, which is also the root of all evil anyway, right? You've had people on your podcast talk about how inflammation is so deadly. Right. So by reducing inflammation and increasing the activity of our own, I think it caused this tremendous difference. And if I could, I'll tell you the difference we saw in the first week.
Yeah, no, that's my next question. So give us an update on your husband's health. That was my next question.
So in the first week, he didn't fall asleep at all. So remember, he was napping 3.5 hours a day, which, you'd kind of, that's kind of scary. Are you alive? Kind of, that's how long a 3.5 hour nap in the middle of the day is. It's like worrisome. He didn't fall asleep at all. He stayed awake through the 7 p.m. TV show we would watch or whatever we were doing at 7. He was so much chattier. He was engaged in conversation. He was with it. He wasn't asking me the same question 7 times in 3 minutes. Hallelujah. He was funny again, and he was flirty. He was just like himself. I got my husband back, and that was just the first week. So the second week, we recorded. Remember, I told you we could only get 15 minutes of deep sleep. We recorded an hour and 25 minutes in the second week of deep sleep. Wow. I almost cried because that is good brain cleansing, right? That's huge. And then at the 2.5 month mark, we saw a huge neurological advancement, and that was he regained the ability to whistle and to drum to the beat.
Wow.
Yep. At the 5 month mark, he regained his sense of smell, which he lost 15 years ago.
Really?
15 years. So smell, and I didn't know this until, all my research that I've done for this. Smell is an early warning indicator the loss of smell is an early warning indicator for this neurological disease.
Okay.
You'll see dance around not using the diseases, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not saying what it's called. Everybody would recognize the name, but that's because we have to be really careful not to, to say, look, LifeWave products are not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent any disease. So while I can't say ever that it prevents, so I'm just going to talk symptoms and decline and those kinds of things to just kind of stay on the safe side. But that was amazing. Oh, and so we talked about his hair closing up, but he also had he had this very strange like cyst sort of nodule thing. It was like a marble sitting underneath his skin. It was just like a lump. It was the weirdest thing. It would move around. It didn't hurt him or anything. But somewhere in like the 5th month, I was like, where did it go? I mean, it's been there 20 years, as long as I've known him. And all of a sudden it's gone. It's just disappeared. I'm like looking all over his arm. I'm like, where is this? It's just disappeared. So one other thing that happened, his blood pressure, which had been high enough where they wanted to put him on medication because it was like 172/94, his blood pressure dropped to 135/87.
Really? So my next logical question for a lay person is this only for people with conditions, or should everybody be wearing one of these?
Man. Oh, and you asked me price too. You also asked me how much. So everyone would benefit from activating their stem cells. Everyone would benefit because you're reverse aging, and instead of, part of the problem for us is that when we are old, when the fewer we have active, the faster we're aging, the less we're healing, the less recovery. But instead of $10,000 a pop, one sleeve of X39, which is this little patch you wear 12 hours on and 12 hours off, and it goes in and it activates your GHKCU. In fact, it resets 4,000 genes in 24 hours. So there are times I just like patch somebody, like I've done good for the world. Just knowing I reset 4,000 of your genes today makes me happy. But there are one patch miracles. Like they literally have, I can't even describe to you the most of the time though, you're going to expect it to take a month for every decade you are old to activate all of those stem cells. But this little sleeve of 30 patches for 1 month costs $99.
Wow.
Wholesale. If you buy it at retail, it's $150, but I don't know why anybody would buy retail. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of crazy. Yeah, friends don't let friends buy retail, right? Right. No. And in fact, I'm mad that I didn't know about these 4 years ago. I'm mad, and you can see with the gag order that we're placed on why we don't know about this, because I think that the media doesn't spend enough time on these kinds of things. When I found out that over 300 Olympic athletes were wearing LifeWave patches in the 2008 Olympics, I was mad. 2008, because we've had
2008.
2008. We've had patches for 20 years. Now the X39 patch that I'm talking about, this is the game changer more than any other patch. We do have a lot of amazing patches. This is the one that activates GHKCU. This has only been around 4 years, but think of the difference for my husband, where we would be today if I would have known about it 4 years ago. I mean, it's just crazy. In fact, if I could tell you about this study that they did in 2019 on the brain, they actually, if I were to show you on the session 1, they did it an EEG, and it's all colored and it's all red. And red is called hypercoherence. And what that really is sort of like an LA traffic jam. Nothing's getting across. The signals aren't going. It's anxiety, it's PTSD, it's depression, it's poor communication, it's poor skills. It's just not a good functioning brain. I mean, we think sometimes, and I feel for my military warriors, because we sometimes think of people with PTSD or depression as, just suck it up, buttercup, get through it. Right? But there's inflammation in the brain, right? So what they found in this study is, as quickly as in 3 weeks, they did another EEG, and the whole color map changes. Blues and greens and yellows come in, and you can see the reduced inflammation. You can see the lowered anxiety. You can see the improvements to the coherence. And at the 6-week point, it was even better. So what the study actually showed and found is that this single X39 patch in 6 weeks increased GHKCU, supported cell and nerve regeneration, which, I mean, what else does that? Balance the brain, improve coherence, improved the nervous system, lowered anxiety, decreased brain inflammation, improved memory, improved focus, improved cognitive brain functioning. And in fact, it improved task processing ease and speed. The more complex the task, the more effective, like the better they were.
So are there any downsides? I mean, you're just one of those, I mean, you see these pharmaceutical commercials and they go, you should take this, it's going to help you, except you might want to kill yourself. You might want to.
Very good question. No, there's no contraindication with medicines. There's no, there's a detoxifying effect. So X39 raises your glutathione levels. Are you familiar with glutathione?
I am personally, but most people aren't. So go ahead and explain it.
So glutathione is magical, amazing. I was on glutathione before discovering the patches, and the studies have shown, so this is your body's master antioxidant and immune booster. So really good to have in your body as we're facing worldwide bugs, right? The glutathione protects your DNA from damage. It initiates repairs to damaged cells. It protects and rejuvenates your stem cells. It increases your length of life. In fact, the people who live the longest in the world have the highest levels of glutathione. It reduces inflammation. It protects hearing and eyesight. It improves collagen and helps regenerate cartilage. There's actually a rebuilding knee protocol. I'm not supposed to use the word protocol. Rebuilding knee approach. It's got glutathione, it's got anti-inflammation, and it's got X39.
All right, so let's talk about, let me ask you some more layman stuff for the regular people. Are your kids wearing this?
Yes. Yes.
Some of them.
Some of them, not all. The one that medically retired from the Marine Corps and had spinal meningitis or some kind of significant brain issue did. Another one, my Navy Academy daughter does as well. She's a power lifter and actually was third in the world for bench. She's a very elite. In fact, I mean, her numbers would blow you away. In fact, I think the last time I checked, she weighs like 160, 170.
You're kidding.
She weighs about 160, 170, but she actually can lift 303 pounds.
Holy jokes.
In a single rep, and then squats 400 and deadlifts 445.
Okay, you're gonna have to send me her. What's her? You got to send me her name and her IG so we can blow her up and get everybody to go look at her IG account. Yeah,
Katie Lift, KatyLiftz, and she is a coach for powerlifting, and she loves coaching, and she is as well. One daughter won't talk to me about it. I'm so glad you found something that's helping you and dad, mom, but I don't want to talk about it. So that one, not talking about it. Another one has considered it, is thinking about it, but hasn't made the decision.
So you were starting at one point to tell us about the location of these patches. Like, so you said you could put it on your clothes and it still gets into your body? Yeah,
the light goes through your clothing, and that's really helpful. We have a lot of autistic children who have sensory issues. And so, and we also have very elderly, stubborn parents. Sometimes
you slap one on their back,
right? So you just slide it under their pillowcase at night, and then it's working on there all night long. Just put it on the back of the child's shirt, and they don't even know it's there, and it's working all day long.
So let's talk about this, because this is intriguing to me. So you can put this on your clothes. And it still gets through to your body and your skin?
Yeah. In fact, I have to tell you, I was as incredulous as you're sounding right now. And I had this opportunity. I went to a health and wellness event, and we have a patch called Ice Wave that takes you out of pain. Like that, like within a minute, it takes you out of pain. People that have had, morphine isn't helping them. And this knocks the pain out. And I really don't understand how that one works, quite honestly. It's movement of energy. Apparently pain is blocked energy. Anyway, we would patch them over their clothes. They would say, well, it's, you're not gonna be able to patch me because it's my left hip and it's under my pants. And I'm like, let me just put it right here. And I could literally hold it just on the outside of their clothing, not tape it, not just hold it. And they're like, oh, wow. On the outside of their pant leg.
Oh my God. They really don't want, I don't know who they are. And for those of you that are listening, I'm doing air quotes, but they really don't want us to get better. This is crazy. No one has heard about this.
It is. In fact, there was a study I want to share with you, particularly you, because of the heart situation. In 6 weeks, people saw an improvement in their vascular system to the point that the cardiovascular system in 6 weeks was functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger.
Wow.
And if you look at the website, the imreverseaging.com website, I mean, you'll see impressive photos of people like their wrinkles have disappeared. Their neck creping is gone. They look younger, their hair, their scar tissue. So someone with open heart surgery has a pretty significant scar a year later from it. But in 1 month of wearing the X39, that the scar is flattening out and looking amazing. You know, but I want to point out that's topical. It is going in and chomping up old scar tissue that causes us issues. Like I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, a knee surgery, 2 feet surgeries, you know, all of this stuff, right?
Now, do you need to put it where the injury is, or you can just put it wherever?
Ice wave the one,
not the ice wave.
But that's the only one that it really matters where you put it. The ice wave, it matters where you put it. X39 and Eon, or like the anti-inflammation and the X39, you can put anywhere. In the studies, they put them behind the back of the neck or below the belly button. Now, I will tell you, I think there's improved, if you have pain, I think there's improved pain relief if you put it in the area of the pain. But you don't have to. It's a systemic. They've actually done urine tests and blood tests. It's work. You could put it on the top of your big toe, and it's going to work. I actually have 2 of them on the bottom of my feet. You know, it's crazy.
You have 2 of them on the bottom of your feet.
I have the energy enhancers, one on the right and one on the left on the bottom of my feet. Basically, they follow meridians and acupressure points. So you'll see a lot of the placements for what's recommended are areas like that. I have found that the energy enhancer, I get way more energy, not like a espresso or a shot or a Red Bull, more like sustained Energizer Bunny kind of. You just don't dip. You don't, but it also helps improve your energy from a mitochondrial cell perspective. So it's you know, lots about the patches, but you know, you're right. They don't want you to know. If you look back, our company in the last 4 years since X39, it has grown 20 times. So we were trucking along at like 30 million a year. In fact, in previous years, Suzanne Summers, who's written 27 books on health and wellness, she actually talks about our patches in, I think, 6 of her books.
Really?
Yeah. So there are some big names. David Beckham, Michael Phelps, Serena Williams. And I recently heard Ivory Sully in a podcast. He's a big NFL football player, talk about the fact that Tom Brady is wearing these patches. You know, and I'm like, why? Everybody wants to know what Tom Brady's doing. Why isn't that discussed? I mean,
because if you can perform at a level like that at that age, you definitely want to know what he's doing. So there are a multitude of patches, which we won't get into, but there's a multitude of patches is for energy, for inflammation, for stem cell recovery, for pain relief.
We're going to call that activating a GHK-Cu peptide.
That's why, see, I got to say it, so I won't get in trouble.
You can say whatever you want.
I can say whatever I want. So you put these on your feet, so it's really reflecting the light inside of you, not really the sunlight, so it doesn't need to be seen to work.
You got it.
Man, that is so dope. It is
so dope. And there's so many amazing patches to try, but I always recommend you start with 2. Okay. The X9 and the Eon. That's called the Dynamic Duo by, our company. And it's because of that inflammation reduction while you're increasing the stem cells. Now, a lot of power athletes really like X49. It's also, it activates the daughter peptide, GHKCU. A month ago, I would have told you it is also a stem cell activating patch, but I will not say that now. I will only say it activates GHKCU. And one of the things that people really love about X49, and particularly people like my daughter that are doing, and actually people like me who are older, is that you would like that it improves the cardiovascular system, because AHKCU hangs out in the brain and the heart. You can't tell the GHKCU, which is throughout your entire body, where to go. AHKCU, however, hangs out specifically in the brain and the heart and the muscles. So what it does is it supports that healthy cardiovascular system, cognition. But what I love is induces faster recovery after exercise. So I'm not as sore. Right. I used to work out really hard and I would be just like, I don't ever want to do this again. I don't know why I do this. I can hardly walk. But it actually makes it so that I'm stronger. In fact, there are studies that show the increase in strength and performance and speed and endurance, but I'm stronger. It improves bone density, which, at 58 matters to me. This is when my bone density starts to drop, and there's not a lot of people think you can do about it, but there is something people can do about it. Right. This is actually something people can do about it. It also acts to help not only promote lean muscle, it promotes the loss of fat. As I got, after menopause, just that whole stuck, I can't lose weight thing. I went to a trainer. He's like, you're not eating enough. And I'm like, I don't know what to do here. This is not working. But this helped me it just dropped. And it was so easy because it is helping you increase, first of all, balance your hormones and that kind of thing, but also getting your, improving the body tone. And then the other thing that I love about X49 that it does is it acts as a Faraday cage to reduce cell phone radiation and all of the bad things that are going into our brain and everything else. You would like that it activates, AHKCU is a copper peptide that activates vascular endothelial cells to support healthy blood flow. But to say back to the beginning, X39 and Eon would be where I would start everyone. Okay. And then eventually I would love to see everyone on that glutathione patch. Okay. The IV of glutathione that I used to get raised my glutathione levels by 27% for 7 minutes. That was the best way you could get glutathione. We've taken it orally. That does a little. It doesn't last very long. It's good, but not great. Our patch raises your glutathione level by 300%, and it stays there for a day. There is nothing like it anywhere. And it's your own glutathione, right? So, that's phenomenal.
So this is a joke, but if we put you in a swimsuit, are we going to see like 30 patches on your body or what?
Let's see.
I know you got 2 on the bottom of your feet.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. You would, I'm wearing, I do every product that they have. Why wouldn't I? When you go look at what they do, and also, in my case, Derick, we didn't have time. I have my own story. Like we talked about Jim, but I have my own story. But we literally, I don't feel like we have time to waste. When it works, and I knew, okay, it works. I don't have time to go, well, let's try this for a little while. No, my husband's 5 years old right now. He can't get a glass of ice water necessarily without a lot of work, right? Let's start with the cup. Let's get to the ice. No, not the ice isn't in the refrigerator. Those kinds of things. So I don't have the time, and I want to elevate. And there are several of the patches that are excellent for the brain. Carnosine. Most athletes know carnosine is amazing for organs and neurological center. So it protects telomere. There's a lot of things it's doing. So each patch has its own specialty, and they're all amazing. Now,
can't wait to dig into it further for myself and for my loved ones. I have some loved ones that had a miniature stroke, and they're fighting hard to get their cognitive faculties back to where they were before. So I'm excited to do some digging and recommend that. I have some people in my circle that have some injuries, pain, so I can't wait to dig in personally and have you back to talk about more of this, because we have to have you back. You're so brilliant. And so
I want to have us back when you have your story too. We can talk about my story the next one, but we can talk about your story.
If this can get me off blood thinners, I'd be elated.
I can tell you, people are off there. First of all, I think I mentioned there's no contraindications with any medicines. The one thing that we do have to say is you gotta sort of get your blood tested, because people are coming off of their cholesterol medicines. They're coming off of their
blood pressure medicines.
You don't need them anymore because you're improving that. All of those are really they're just symptoms. They're not going to the root of the problem. And that's what I'm a huge believer is let's go back to the root of the problem and get that fixed. I'm going to send you a bunch of testimonials on stroke and on various things that you're interested in, because there are testimonials out there, thousands of testimonials, people that could not move half of their body after a stroke. And you put the X39 patch on them, and within 5 minutes, they're moving.
Kids 5 minutes.
No, 5 minutes.
Wow.
I'm going to send you that testimonial, and it's almost so hard to believe that you're like, it's so miraculous that I think that the thing it's hard is that people just have trouble believing it could be this good. It's like too good to be true.
Well, it's priced well enough to try. I mean, it's not $10,000 a quarter.
Right.
So let's
for
try
$99.
it.
And the anti-inflammation patch is only $49. So you're talking $150.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
100%.
And we haven't talked about this, but there's a business opportunity around it as well.
Okay.
Passive
we'll have to bring you back, and we'll talk about that. But so last question, and I was done, but I got to ask you this question. So if you're taking the X39 and you take the anti-inflammatory also, and the stem cells are helping you to regenerate your body and your stem cells and heal you, does it mean that as you're getting better, that you won't have to take some of the other things? Like you won't need some of the other patches continuously, like the inflammation, if you're getting better and healing and getting stronger and all those things?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think inflammation hits us all the time in the foods we eat and the stress that we have in our bodies, and just some, inflammation is maybe less of one, but yes, I mean, I think I'm trying to go in and, use everything a month for every decade I am old. I don't recommend everybody else do what I'm doing. That's just me. But they can start with a few. Certain people are trying to target certain things. I have 3 autoimmune disorders that I have no symptoms of right now as a result of these. So, but I think that, it's not like that blood pressure medicine where when you stop it, your blood pressure goes shooting up. You are going to have reversed your age so that if you were to stop taking the patches in a year.
I'm laughing because somebody's going to take a picture of me. I'm going to be in bed with patches everywhere.
I love it. But yeah, you're going to find that when do you stop wearing them? When you're ready to start aging again.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Darlene. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy woman. I'm going to ask you to sit back in the green room for 1 second while I shut this down, and I'm going to get some of that information you were talking about. So thank you again.
Thank you, Derick. It's just a pleasure to be with you. I want you to know how much I appreciate you and what you do for all of the community. I just find all of you inspiring.
Thank you. They're not going to be able to hold me down after I get done talking to you.
It's not true.
All right. You know what? We promise to continuously bring you bright minds, bright hearts, people that are heart-centered, looking to help other people improve the quality of their life. If you did not gain any insight whatsoever, I don't care how many GHKCUs and X39 she mentioned, if you didn't get the gist that there is something out here in our universe that will help you to improve the quality, which improves the quantity of your life, you just were not paying attention. I hope that you like, share, and subscribe this. But more importantly than my traditional, hey, I want you to like, share, and subscribe, I really want you to share this with as many people as you know. Each and every one of us knows someone that's suffering from pain, from blood pressures. They're taking all these meds that are contraindicating against the other meds and causing other problems that can be alleviated by not taking meds at all if you reverse your aging. If you do some things that were discussed in this podcast that will help you to elevate your life, your family's life, your loved ones' lives, and then let them spread the word to other people, we can all just think about if everyone was just a little happier. if they were just a little happier about how much better we would treat each other, about how less fighting we would do, and how, I mean, it just would be amazing. You know, I always thought if everybody had money, they'd be better. But you know what? If everybody was paying free, they'd be better. If they not paying free, but less pain, less stress, less anxiety, all of which were discussed today in this podcast. So I hope that you continue to share your time with us by watching and listening. And I hope that you do follow us and continue to subscribe and give us insights on what you think is meaningful content to help you live a 24K life. I'm Derick Gant. Be your best, bring your best, leave nothing to chance.